Good afternoon. I am so happy to be here with you, Dwight, and I'm so pleased with everyone that's joining, whether you're on the live stream or you guys are joining in afterwards on Spotify or Apple or YouTube and so forth. Dwight, we're out here, and this is the first time we've done a podcast in the PNW together.
Cold, rainy Northwest.
I'm freezing.
It's cold.
It's cold.
We got 6 months left.
I'm having a hard time processing this.
It can be a little depressing.
At some point, we were like, thought it was a good idea to go home. Normally, we only come home in the summer, and we decided to come home for the winter.
Yeah, it's an extended season here.
It's very gray.
Yeah.
It's giving me a lot of podcast time, though.
That's good. Perfect. Time to catch up on some stuff.
Yes, that and prepping for our next EOS meeting.
Yes, it's coming up soon.
You left me with some homework. Do you remember what the homework was?
You got a whole bunch of homework.
Yeah, I'm working on my presentation.
Good. The core value speech.
Our core value speech. Yep. I went through 30 iterations of it.
Yep.
So yeah. So
and I've got something I need to send you that kind of goes along with the vision. So we'll get a chance. I'll get that mailed over to you at some point.
Okay, I'm on it. Well, thank you very, very much. This has been a really, really good exercise for all of us. So I know we've done podcasts before, webinars before, and so forth. But for anybody who's watching, it's primarily going to be home service companies, I would assume, as well as contractors, distributors, manufacturers, and so forth. Let's start with just giving a little insights on what EOS is. We're in the middle of it. We're in the thick of things. So you want to give a little insights on?
Yeah, EOS really simply is just a people operating system. It's just a set of simple tools and concepts that have been around for 100 years. They'll be around for 1,000 more. So no silver bullets and magic pills, nothing proprietary. These are just simple real world leadership tools to help leadership teams get more of what they want from their business. And this discovery came from, basically, we found that every leader, every leadership team wrestles with 136 issues in their organization. And to the extent that we can strengthen 6 key components, we're going to help run a better business and get more from that business each and every day. And so what we do with EOS is we strengthen the vision component, getting everybody in the organization aligned around a common vision and plan. The people component is just getting great people and identifying how do we understand who great people are for our organization, attract them to our business, and then repel the wrong ones so that we're not stuck with toxic people. The data component, the strength in that is we've got to figure out how do we objectively manage numbers in this business rather than the subjective feelings and egos and emotions that so often drive decision-making for us entrepreneurs. The issues component is just getting really good at solving our issues at the root, making them go away, because many times we're just not good at it. And so we show up meeting after meeting, nothing ever gets resolved. We never identify the root cause of the problem. We're just frustrated as a business. The process component is just getting the most important things in the business done the right and best way every time. And that's what creates consistency, scalability. It makes it easier to manage, more profitable, and ultimately more fun. When you look around your business and you see everybody doing the most important things the right and best way every single time. And then finally, traction is the 6th component, and that's just bringing the vision down to the ground. We always say vision without traction is hallucination. It's just a good idea. We've got to get really good at bringing that down to the ground and having really great meetings every week that move the needle, and then setting really great goals or rocks every quarter to help us achieve that vision plan. So that's really the the high level version of what EOS is and how it helps leaders and leadership teams get unstuck, make more money in their business, reduce the friction and the chaos that's happening, and get them organized and aligned and all kind of rowing in the same direction.
Yeah. We're currently going through this, and your role with us. Do you want to talk a little bit about your role and how you guys, professionals that are in your capacity, help people? Because you can buy an EOS book online, you can buy traction online, you can
Absolutely.
all the materials, but
we always tell teams, yeah, it's good. I mean, we always tell teams, you can get the traction book, you can self-implement. I always tell teams, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You have to find what works best for you, your budget. If you can remain objective enough as a leader in your business, great. If you have the capacity in the midst of running your business and trying to do that well, to learn an operating system and effectively implement it with your leadership team and through your organization, great.
Yeah.
I know self-implementing companies. I know some that have switched from self-implementing to an implementer, because there's this concept I always teach teams. It's hard to see the label from inside the jar. Sometimes we're just too close to it. It's subjective, it's emotional, and we can't remain objective. And that's why some people hire an implementer to help them facilitate that.
Yeah, I feel like this has been kind of a internal moment for me. I had to have a come into Jesus meeting with myself. I've been trained as a black belt in Six Sigma, certified project manager. I've been through course after course after course. I spent 7 years in capacity training. And I literally thought I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I really need an implementer. I mean, I've led large organizations and run an 8-figure business, from corporate America and global supply chain implementation to here. I would figure that I got this. Like, this isn't going to be difficult. But I will say, under no circumstances, having been through these sessions with you, would I attempt to do this on my own, even with all my background and training. There's no way. I mean, the clarity that you provided, processing, getting each one of us on our executive team to self-reflect, provide each other with direct feedback that I don't know if we would have before, be blatantly honest, be more tactical, consolidate, and simplify. Right? I mean, I feel like we went through each of these different iterations, and having you there as a guide, it wasn't like you were giving us the answer, but you were asking all of the right questions for us to get closer and closer and closer to the answer. That's huge.
And I think that's one of the beauties of EOS is I just facilitate the wisdom that's already in the room. You're already a great organization. You're already doing amazing things. It's just sometimes as these businesses grow, as your organization gets larger, it just becomes more complex. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of people. And EOS helps to simplify. You said it really well. It just helps to simplify and distill it down to what's most important when.
Brass tacks, baby.
That's it.
Because
we can get stuck. I mean, as a visionary, as a fellow visionary, we're chasing shiny stuff all over the place. That's what we do. We love big ideas. And the hard part for our teams is we can create massive chaos if we're not checked. If somebody isn't going, come on back down, we got to pull you back to the ground, and then let's focus on something. That's why my wife, I drive her crazy because I've got 1,000 ideas, and she's like, let's just focus on one. And that's what our teams need, is they need the clarity. They need the focus and the marching orders to be able to go into the business and execute that.
Yeah. I don't disagree. You see, I own my visionary.
I love it. I
own it. The more self-aware I am of it. I'm not going to say that I've resolved that, because I'm in a little of a quandary right now with the advancements of technology.
Sure.
Are hyping me up at a greater pace than previously. I am definitely, I'll just say that during the next session that we have, Brandon's probably going to our CFO, who is on our end, holds a different, the implementer, right?
The integrator, yep.
Integrator. And he has a very difficult challenge with me because I cannot stop learning and every new idea is right front and center.
Yeah.
So let's take this back and approach this a little bit differently. I'm going to approach it from my vantage point because I still struggle every single day with creating a list of 90-day rocks. And we'll talk about what that is and why it's critical, and not modifying them when new information is presented. I always tell somebody, to me, your value is, are you able to change your mind when presented with new information? That's been a key staple of my existence, is not to get stuck in a belief system or a core philosophy or a core process or anything. Do not get stuck in it because things are evolving so fast. So that being said, I am a challenge for our organization. I am a challenge. I own that. But like right now, as we're going through 2025 planning, strategic planning, our clients are going through 2025 strategic planning. And, some are coming back and they're really hyped up and they're really excited and very proud of the fact that they didn't wait. They did not do it. They started 6 months in advance. And 6 months ago, they started building out their 2025 strategic plan. And I'm really stuck with this in the last 6 months, our world has evolved so drastically. Mm-hmm. Technology advancements, the evolution of AI and automation tools, it's every single day there is new technology that is shipping at a rate we've never seen historically in our entire life. Mm-hmm. So these 12-month plans, I think they are, I'm like, there's no way in, excuse my French, but no way in hell I could create a 12-month plan without having the agility of having these shorter rocks. And I think that these 90-day rocks have really helped me be able to scale it down and not create a 50-page strategic plan for the year.
Right.
So let's talk about, strategic planning, what 90-day rocks are, mm-hmm. and kind of the pros and cons of the 12-month planning, the 3-year planning, the 5-year planning. I mean, 5 years from now, consumers could possibly not even go to a website. A website could just be a content delivery network with.
Yeah, no, Gemini. I think you make good points. And I think with EOS, the concept that we teach is one of the 5 leadership abilities is the ability to predict. Is that sometimes we get stuck because we're just not great predictors. We don't know what the future holds. And, honestly, the future is uncertain.
Yes.
And we find that very, very quickly through all the technological advancements, the economy, market conditions, interest rates. There's a lot of things as a home service provider that are outside of our control. And so the ability to predict, and why we focus on 90-day goals is, but we find that most leadership teams lose focus about every 90 days. And that's been studied, is that we get so tactical, we get stuck in the weeds that rarely do we ever come up for air and look at long-term, where are we headed? Where's this business actually going? Mm-hmm. Because this concept of vision, and this book I'm going to send you, Vivid Vision, helps paint a picture for our team of where we're going long-term. Because disengagement in our businesses is an all-time high. 58% of employees are disengaged in the businesses that they work for. They don't know what the goal is. They don't even know what the target is. And then sometimes it's shifting all the time, weekly, bi-weekly, sometimes monthly. They don't even know what to prioritize and focus on. So rocks are, what are the 3 to 7 most important things that this business has to do this quarter? It's what Stephen Covey called first things first. If we've got a cylinder with rocks, pebbles, sand, and water, what do we put in the jar first? If we don't put the biggest things in, which is our goals, all the customer problems, emails, employee issues, all the other stuff fills up the jar, and we have no room for our goals. And so this concept basically says we can't focus on 23 things. We have to focus on 3 to 7 because, again, when everything's important, nothing's important. It's the law of diminishing returns in business that if we focus on too many things, we actually won't do anything.
Yeah.
So we just focus on less is more, really crystallizing the main priorities for this leadership team. And then we take this tool and we migrate it through the organization so that every department has 3 to 7 goals. Every person has a rock that they're accountable for keeping on track each and every quarter. And the hard part with technology, with AI and its shifting, is we've got to really slow down and we've got to think critically about and anticipate or predict what this could look like within the midst of our goals. Because if we're constantly pivoting, what'll happen with our teams, and I've done this myself, is that we just create whiplash. And everyone's going, I don't know what's the goal? It's always moving.
You remember the game that was like at a carnival or something, and the little you have this streamer and the little pop-up guy.
The whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole.
That's what it is. It's whack-a-mole.
That's it. Oh my gosh. I think, when we first got together in our first session, that initial set of rocks we did for Q4 was wildly helpful. We went through this process internally. So we got really, really clear on what we wanted to accomplish by the end of the year. And with each department, we created 3 primary, and these were very challenging. Like, global changes affects 100% of our clients, affects 100% of our team. Very complicated. Like, we had a schema markup expansion process where we were analyzing, deconstructing schema markup on all of the competitors and X number of surrounding radius around every single customer. And the goal is that we redid the schema validation and markup on every single client. So, for example, not that anybody cares about that, but it's really important. But we picked a huge, group of, we hired an entirely new development team, and we changed our entire development process. We said by the end of the year, we will no longer be building old funky WordPress websites that are slow as molasses and insecure. And we're going to adopt an entirely new AI-enabled technology. These are massive changes.
Sure.
And we're operating in 2 different things. Had we not sat down with you and set these very clear and concise rocks for each department, and I think a huge portion of it was the alignment between all of them being connected to the company's Q4 rocks, that every one of them was in sync. If then this, and both of them help us accomplish our main goal, which obviously is to deliver better performance for our clients. There's no way we could have got through it. I am pleased to say we're wrapping up the end of the year and we have less than 5%. I saw one department that had 7%, because we're tracking all of it, left on a global project.
That's
across
amazing.
All departments, all customers, and everyone is communicating. You watch all the chats, all the Slack chats, and everyone is 100% focused on, come hell or high water, we're nailing this. We're hitting our goal. We're going to be done at the end of the year. And you can already see the leaders starting to process what are the rocks for Q1 and starting to outline this. So
that's the power of alignment.
It was huge.
That's amazing.
There's no way I would have in any other instance tackled that many major initiatives all at the same time across every single department. I think one of the other things that you did with us, again, helpful for me, was you forced us to choose who is accountable for each division.
Tell me about that.
Right? That, like, I've carried the weight as an entrepreneur. I've carried the weight and the responsibility of my whole, 20 years in business. And you pressured us, I'm going to say, pressured me anyway, to say it's okay to give someone else in the organization complete accountability for something. And I have never felt like this in our business before.
Jennifer, I think you make a really good point, because I think most entrepreneurs don't. I actually just met with a client this morning at 6 a.m. for coffee, and he's going through EOS and he's overwhelmed. And I think so many times as owners, we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. And we don't always feel like our leadership teams or our people are accountable and helping us move this forward. And I think defining who's accountable for what is critical, and having a name in the seat, because sometimes we have two people sitting in the same seat. We always say with an accountability chart, this is what makes an accountability chart, is that one person's accountable, because when two people are accountable, nobody's accountable. And it's hard. This is hard work that you guys are doing, and we're having conversations we may or may not have ever had. We're getting crystal clear on who's responsible for what. And hopefully, like, I just had a new client this week, and the CEO, he was pretty much done with his business. He was like, I'm so overwhelmed. At the very end, he says, you know what, Dwight? I feel like you gave me a lifeline back into my business.
Yeah.
It was breathing room to say, you don't have to do it all yourself. We create the structure. You guys are already successful. We're just creating the framework so that you can now, what we call, delegate and elevate to your unique ability. That's a Dan Sullivan term, your unique ability, what you love to do, what you're best at as a leader. And then, as Ronald Reagan used to say, or famously said, we trust but verify that it got done. Yeah. And that's accountability. We're just going to follow through on what it is that they're supposed to.
I'm going to attempt to tell you just thank you, and that my eyes started to tear right here, because giving them the permission, this wasn't this took me a minute to process, but giving them the permission to own it.
Love it.
And not have me own it. Like, I'm seeing new humans.
100%.
Which means that I was technically holding them back from their full potential of what they could do. And I also own, and I'm going to be very frank about that I caused them to not have the freedom to be the leader that was in them from day one.
And I would tell you that that's incredibly honest and brave of you to say, and I think it's more normal than not. We're just scared of letting go. Most of us are, and I think that's the reality. Anytime I meet with a new client, the leadership team is nervous about letting go, what we call letting go of the vine. How do I trust that somebody else is going to do it the way that I do it? And they may not. That's why clear definition, having clear communication, follow through, and definition of what that looks like is so important for the team. And like you said, they come alive, because now you trust me to do it. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah, it was, that was challenging, like, we had some really tough conversations. I feel like I'm pretty good at giving direct feedback, but I also feel like I protect people's feelings in some way, shape, or form. I guess I'm a mom. Sure. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I feel like I've always been really good at giving direct feedback, but this was different, after you coached us through this process, and we're putting us in a position that we need to make a decision. I felt that the only way that I was going to be able to make a decision on these core people was to be wildly frank and direct and matter of fact about my concerns. And, it was really interesting. I'm so proud of them. Like, I'm so proud that they absorbed and took all of the direct feedback. I'm so proud that they are consciously aware and have made gigantic pivots in addressing these and making them top of mind things.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that happened that way? Is it now they know it's in the light, or?
Yeah, I think that they rightfully so want to show that they can do it, and just having awareness of the concerns. It was as simple as that. And how ridiculous for these poor humans to have worked with me for so many damn years and me not giving them um, the freedom and the feedback necessary for them to make the changes, for them to fill those gaps I might have had in my mind that were not
Mm,
technically there. So I'm very grateful. I have a massive amount of gratitude for going through this process with you,
mm,
and allowing me to grow and them to grow, and just watching like little things in our business that have been a constant challenge. We've tried to, resolve and so forth. Jasmine, for example, Jasmine, Chelsea, and Mike Fitzgerald. Like watching these three step up and say, don't, I understand your concerns and I got this. Like,
mm.
go invent something, girl. That's what you do. Go make a new, go plan where we're headed in 2025, right? Tell us how
Yeah,
the world is going to change and we need to get there. But this, you don't need to worry about.
love it.
I got this. And just the amount of complete accountability and transformative change. Like it's caused us to truncate time, something that was a known challenge on an issues list for 7 months, 8 months, 10 months. I'm watching them crush it and be creative and come up with ideas that I didn't even have in my brain and hadn't found to resolve things and
Yeah.
truncate time into these really short sprints. Um,
That's
which
why I love these tools. I mean, when Gino Wickman created EOS, he just took all these issues that were happening, all the major thought leaders, and he put it into 6 key components that we all wrestle with the same stuff. I
Mhm.
work with for-profit organizations of 1 million. My biggest client is over 100 million. I've got nonprofit clients of different ranges, and the issues are all the same because it's just
Yeah,
people.
right. It doesn't matter.
And
Like,
so we just work to help strengthen the 6 key components and help leaders get more time back, get more clarity, enjoy what they do, help them sleep at night, because that's really, at the end of the day, we want to enjoy what we do. And many times when I meet with leaders, they're at the 11th hour, they're pretty frustrated, or things have gotten so complex that they're like, this thing's growing and I got a tiger by the tail. I don't know what to do with it. And so we got to slow down. And that's the beauty is I don't do technology in the session room. You guys probably know that other than the laptop.
cool little whiteboard
I'm a
vision.
I'm just a simple dumb guy with a whiteboard marker. I'm just taking what you guys are doing. We're just clarifying.
Yeah. I want to get to two things. So
Yeah.
one of the things I definitely want to get to scorecards. So don't let me skip that before Krista gives us, our producer gives us the thumbs up.
Yeah.
But so one of the things we're doing in Q1 is we're taking the L10
Hmm.
meeting structure, and you're getting on and you're going to train our account managers. I don't know if they already have that book, but you're
Yep.
training our account managers.
We got it booked.
Creative. Okay. So on the L10 meeting structure, our goal is to change our account managers meeting style with our customers
Mm,
and utilize the L10 format. I mean, why
love it.
not? They have a
Love it.
score, right? They have to-dos that need to happen between each period of time between their meetings, and they have issues that they need to discuss and resolve.
I love
And
it.
right now, I've been in listening to account manager meetings and so forth, and the meetings are a little discombobulated. They kind of bounce all over because there's really not a set framework that we hold the client and our team
Yeah.
accountable to following that gives them a little more discipline in these meetings. So talk to me about the L10 meeting structure, because we're taking it to another level, not only at the executive team, but also interdepartmental, but we're going to expand it down to our customers. And I
Yeah.
want the team to be able to explain why we're making this change with our clients, and hopefully get our customers involved in EOS, have a conversation with you, and to start implementing this structure within their own business so we can create this sheer alignment across the board. So
Yeah.
L meeting structure, level up.
L10 meeting structure. What's really important about this is it's the same agenda each and every time. It starts on time, it ends on time. And so this always starts with it's what we call the 90-minute meeting or the level 10 meeting agenda. It always starts with a segue. So we show up, if the meeting's at 10 a.m., we show up at 9:55. We've got all of our documents in front of us. We've got our rocks. We've got our scorecard items. We're fully prepared, engaging in some small talk. And then we start with our segue. So the segue is just going around the room and connecting. This is one piece of personal good news and one piece of professional good news, helping us transition from working kind of in the business to now working on the business more strategically. We then very swiftly switch gears over to the scorecard. So the scorecard, all we're doing here is reading off the measurable, the goal, and are we saying it's on track or it's off track for the week? Hopefully leading indicators that give us a pulse on the business, and then who's responsible for that. So there's typically a name attached to the measurable and the goal. The key here with scorecards is that there's no conversation or narrative. So if it's off track, we just drop it down to the section of the agenda, which is called IDS, or the issue solving track. This is where meetings go sideways right out of the gate. Is we want to explain, I want to tell Jennifer why it's off track. Let me explain a little bit. Let me justify, rationalize, or make excuses as to why that number's off track for the week. This is just reporting only. I just need to know objectively, is it on track for the week or is it off track? If it's on track, we read the next measurable and goal, on track or off track. So again, somebody's taking notes in the meeting and they're populating anything in the issues list that's off track during our reporting section. Once we've reviewed our scorecard, we move over to our rocks. Those are just those 90-day goals or priorities for the business. And we're going to read who's responsible for the rock for the quarter, what the rock is, and is it on track or off track. If it's off track, we drop it down to the issues list. No narrative, no conversation. From there, customer employee headlines. This is also 5 minutes. So each of these segments is all 5 minutes. We need to make sure that our customers and employees are happy. So we're going to check in on that, make sure if there's any issues there, we drop it down to the issues list. Again, no conversation or narrative. That's usually where things go and rabbit trail and sidetrack. From there, we interject a little to-do list, things last week that we needed to get done that need to be done this week. And the goal with that is we're saying done or not done. That's what drives weekly accountability and visibility of the things that need to be done from last week. The key there with to-dos is that 90% of those need to be dropping off each week. If not, we're just not predicting right. It might be a rock, or we may have an accountability issue on the leadership team or somewhere else through the organization. People are not prioritizing their time accordingly. From there, we spend 60 minutes out of the 90 minutes IDSing, or what we call identify, discuss, and solve our issues as a business. So we're going to take this huge list of issues that we've come up from our meeting, all the things that were off track with our scorecard, maybe quarterly rocks that have gotten off track, customers or employees who aren't happy, maybe there's some to-dos that didn't get done. We now have a list of things. And what we're going to do is simply, as a leadership team, we're just going to look at this list and prioritize the top 3 things that are the biggest issues that we have to resolve for the business this week. So we're going to identify number 1, 2, and 3, and we're just going to jump in and IDS number 1. So I is identify the root cause, which means we have to go beyond what's written on paper, because many times that's just a symptom of the real root cause. And there's a concept in a tool that we use called 5 whys. Is I just irritatingly ask the question 5 times, Jennifer, why is that? Okay, good. Why is that? And we just keep going down until we nail down what the root cause is in this organization. We discuss it briefly and only briefly. Everybody gets a chance to communicate. But once the conversation becomes redundant, we just move to solve. And we figure out who's going to take action, what are we going to do to make this issue go away, and we set a date. And we cross off number 1. That is now added to our to-do list moving forward, and we move on to number 2. So the IDS section really helps teams get traction. They really feel like they're solving these things and truly making them go away, because if we don't, what usually happens is we come in week after week and some level of this thing keeps surfacing like a bad stain in the carpet. We've surface treated it, but we never get to the root and make it truly go away. And that's where teams get frustrated, because these are the things that are affecting our profitability, our efficiency, their people issues, customer problems. or we're just not accomplishing our goals quarterly. We're off track, which is going to affect our 1 year, 3 year, and maybe longer term targets as a business. And so this gives us the ability to begin really digging in and identifying in this organization, where does the real problem lie? And then creating tangible and actionable steps to make it go away.
Yeah.
From there, we just move over to conclude. That's 5 minutes. We're going to spend recapping our to-do list so everybody in the room knows what needs to be done for next week. From there, we cascading messages. So this is just anything that we talked about in the meeting room or the session, this level 10 meeting, that our team needs to know. This is what keeps all the circles connected in the business. And then finally, we just conclude on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best. How did we do as a team today running this meeting?
All those things, the issues, weeds.
Yeah.
You can't just go chop off the top of a weed. It's just gonna.
Exactly. Especially in the Northwest.
Yes. I'm looking at them. But yeah, and I think on the cascading messages side, that was a big deal for us. We're not a small organization for a small business. We have hundreds of people and dozens of departments, but it has really improved having the core accountability. We have 5 primary accountability members on the team for each division. I think we ended with HR, finance, production, advertising and marketing, and sales and strategy. Those 5. So that's really been able, before it was stretched out, we had more departments than that. So it made the cascading messages portion more difficult. This has gotten really, really streamlined. Like we know how to get these messages down. So give me an example of an L10 meeting in a home services business. Because I think that, I've had a few conversations with different companies that are like, oh, it sounds good, but how does that apply to a company like mine? Really thinking that they don't need an operating system, or that somehow, I think that's the common thread, which I laugh about. Somehow they're unique and different. Like their business is different. So give me an example of what this looks like in a home services company, an HVAC company. Maybe they're doing, I don't know, 3 million to 5 million in revenue. How does this apply to a company like that?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is I ran it in my business, which was a heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing business. And I know that prior to doing it, we had meetings. They weren't effective. They always ran over. We never walked out having a clear plan of what we were actually doing for the week. We weren't tracking the right things. We were tracking a lot of stuff, but it wasn't moving the needle. Right. Nobody was accountable for anything. So even if it was off track, there was no discipline to go in and fix it anywhere because we didn't really know where to dig. And so I always ask the question with the question, what is it that you want from your business that you're not getting today? And if there are things that are missing or gaps in your business, we always tell teams, it doesn't matter what operating system you choose, but choose one and stick with it. There are many great ones out there. There's eMyth and Rockefeller Habits. There's phenomenal systems. I don't advocate just for one, and we don't talk bad about any system because they're all great systems. We just tell leaders, pick a system and use it because it will help you grow and scale your business. That's what took us from a startup to $15 million in 4 years. It's systems and tools.
Right.
It's structure and goals. It's harnessing people and leveraging it towards that. So when we meet, again, the power of the segue in the level 10 meeting is the ability for us to connect. We're not just HVAC people or plumbing or electrical. We're humans. We've got to connect with one another. And what are the things in this business we have to keep on track with the scorecard? I mean, if I migrate this down all the way through my business, I need to understand how much accounts receivable. Do I have cash flow issues in this business, but I've got 300,000 in accounts receivable sitting out there and I can't make payroll next week?
Right.
Having the visibility, it's what I call the dashboard of the vehicle. I don't need to know everything that's happening in my business. But at the leadership team level, I need the 5 to 10 gauges that give me an absolute pulse on engine temperature and engine oil and this and that and speed. That's the beauty of being able to track the right things And then if there is an issue, I can start diving into the organization with clarity and respond versus react. And
Right.
I've done both. And I think most entrepreneurs react. We push our problems out to next week and we wrap them with duct tape and twine. And then our business gets too big and our whole thing is wrapped in duct tape and twine. We've never really gotten good at tracking the right things, understanding who's accountable for what, having those conversations and driving that discipline through the organization. And frankly, we don't even know where we're going long term. So to break it down into 90-day goals, we're just shooting from the hip.
Right.
And it's really tough to run a business that way. In the first years of our business, that's how we ran. It was the shooting fish in a barrel cowboy style, busy, busy, busy. And from the outside, it looked great and successful. But the inside, we were over our heels. It was getting complex. We had no systems. We had no processes. People weren't following them. And then the frustration for a leader is my people aren't consistent. So I've got to go back in and fix those issues. And if we just do it right the first time and we create this really great structure and framework, then I know very quickly where the problems arise. Is it a people issue? Is it a process issue in my business to fix? That's the power of an operating system.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. On a scorecard side, so this was something that we obviously spent a lot of time with. And I think when we were mapping out just in our own business what our scorecard should include, it started with the list of how many items do you think were on the whiteboard when we first started?
There was a decent amount.
I mean, I feel like 30.
Probably about 30.
So, right? Yeah. I feel like it was 30 or more. And it was interesting. It almost took me back to kind of in the beginning before I had a CFO and a full accounting team and a chief of staff and a full HR team. I definitely ran the business on spidey senses.
Yeah.
So luckily, because I'm a technology junkie and a CRM junkie, is I did have a dashboard. I still have it of these tools on my phone that show each one of these widgets on my phone are all of my primary KPIs. And we ended up with the same dashboard that I've had on my phone forever. I have the things that I can tell the health of the business, where we're headed, are we growing, if there's an issue, even down to the department on my app. But that's because I come from a CRM background.
Yeah.
And the dashboards were critical, but it was interesting going through the process and it expanding to this giant list and then trickling back down to this is good because these are the exact things where I can tell, do we have a problem in a department? Do we have a problem with some new hires? Do we have what is the issue?
Well, and it'll get even more granular as we go through this process, because once we get out of vision building day 2 and finish building this vision and plan for the business, we'll now create this roadmap of how to implement EOS through the departments. And so when we talk about how does this apply to me as a home service company, we've got a scorecard for a leadership team, high level, right? High level, big picture dashboard. But when we get into a department, like a service department or an install department, I'm going to be tracking something very specific in terms of revenue per call, sales leads produced per technician. And a technician's going to have a measurable or a goal on that department level scorecard that they're responsible for keeping on track each and every week. That's what drives accountability and it drives visibility. So when they show up to that service department level 10 meeting, they're responsible for reporting, is it on track or off track? And then we as a team in that service department begin to IDS those issues together. And so what that does is it starts to elevate everybody in the business because nobody wants to show up and have all their numbers off track. That's what we found. But you're tracking now warranty and callbacks. You're tracking leads. You're tracking maintenance agreements. On the install side, you're tracking warranties, or if you didn't beat the budget that was assigned for the job. There's a lot of stuff to track that's just meaty data that drives what you want as a leadership team moving forward. But our teams need clarity on what that is. And so we meet with them every week for 60 or 90 minutes. I always tell field staff teams, you're going to maybe truncate that level 10 down to 60 minutes because we got to have them making money. But at that point, we're going to have the same conversations that we're having with everybody in the organization, clarifying their measurables or goals. They may have a rock for the quarter that they're responsible for keeping on track. And again, everybody's moving towards this common vision and plan. And that's where it gets really exciting as magic starts to happen in this business.
You'll be very proud. So, of course, I'm going to jump the gun. That's my style. So we had our end of the year kind of wrap up meeting with everyone. And I took one of the divisions who's been really keeping up with everything we're doing with EOS, prepping, finalizing scorecards, and training their team on tracking their numbers, building all of the right dashboards inside of our CRM system and so forth. So on the end of year meeting, Brandon, our CFO, was talking to the organization about implementation of EOS, what they could expect, how this was going to trickle down and roll down, what some of the things were aha moments for us in the initial phases and so forth. And then we asked Jazz to do a quick sample of just a scorecard update for her division, 5 departments.
Yeah.
And she started at the first one, and all she did was call name, Becca, JC. She called off the names, and the entire group in less than 15 minutes, we had almost, I would say 40 people.
Yeah.
All give their scorecard updates.
I love it.
Rapid fire. And
I
felt so good in my
That's so cool.
Over.
I love it.
It was like rapid fire. And before that, I mean, there would be no way. They might be able to, go through at the end of the quarter. But if we're looking at it at the end of the quarter, we had 3 months that already went by where we could have identified something was an issue. And now every Friday they're prepping their final numbers, and every Monday they're ready to roll.
I love it. And that's the beauty. I mean, that's the thing I see with clients is you guys are doing the hard work. You're staying consistent. You're being true to the process. You're doing the hard work, and it shows. And that's the fun part for me as an implementer is we just provide the framework. I'm going to push and challenge the status quo, maybe the thinking, but I'm going to get you as a team to start doing it. And you guys are already doing it. I mean, you're moving ahead. That's always fun to watch because you start to see the results in it right away.
It is really incredible.
Super cool.
This is what we get with a live uncut broadcast.
I love it.
It's been pulling. You might as well just say hi on the podcast since you're and we're streaming live with no uncut. I was trying to pretend like he wasn't there and hide his body.
This is real life. Amazon packages in the holidays. It is what it is.
Well, this has been really, really great again. I can't thank you enough, Dwight. You've changed our business. You've changed me. And you've given new opportunities to our team members. This is going to trickle down to all of our customers. You've really changed the trajectory of our organization for 2025. And this is going to impact and influence a lot of other organizations. So I just want to thank you for the work you're doing.
It's my pleasure. And I'm grateful for your trust in me and in EOS. And we'll just keep moving. It's a journey. And that's a thing. I think there's no destination here. We just continually improve as people, as leaders, and continue to build great organizations that make incredible impact on the world. And that's what you guys are doing. So I applaud you for it.
So this is something we've agreed to do is we're going to go live on our podcast probably once a month and be able to give everybody kind of a status update as we go through this journey. We might as well share it. I'm trying to be as open and honest as I can.
Love it.
Lay it all on the table. So hopefully it helps somebody that's watching that maybe is feeling something the same or in a similar position and can see the benefit. And I hope they reach out to you, Dwight.
Well, I'm happy to provide any tools, even if it's just, I don't even know what this is. I'll send you a traction book if you just want to dabble in it and read about it, or I can answer any questions. Again, the journey is yours as a leader. I always tell teams when you're ready, you'll know. When the pain maybe is great enough, you'll know. There's zero pressure from any EOS implementer. I'm one of 850 other implementers around the world. Do what's right for your business. Just make sure it's transformational. Make sure that you're all in. I always tell teams, If there's one person in the room that's not in, I'm not in. I need to know that everybody's in on that leadership team. And that's really where the magic happens. Because sometimes I'll say something that gets me fired in the session room. I'm going to push buttons. I'm going to challenge these teams because at the end of the day, what they really wanted when they started was real results and real transformation. They wanted change. They want a different trajectory. They want to retire. They want a liquidity event. They just want to sleep at night.
Right.
My goals are my clients' goals, is what you want, I'm going to help you achieve. And sometimes I get to see things in my clients that they can't see in themselves, and I get to call that out and push them to their best. And that's the fun part for me.
I think the friction is where the magic happens.
Yeah, there's a quote we use in EOS is that the magic happens in the work that we're avoiding.
And the conversations we're avoiding, 100%. My business coach told me a long time ago, everybody's probably heard me say it because it's never leaving. If I could only get you to do the things you already know you should, you'd consider me a genius.
Yeah.
And it takes help. We all have good intentions. We all think we can do it on our own, but yeah, I highly recommend.
I've hired an executive coach. I'm in the middle of a personal trainer. I have 2 coaches right now, and I'm probably going to hire a third.
Yeah.
I'm all in. I want to improve and I want to grow. And I know I haven't done things always great in the past. And I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better coach. I want to be a better dad, husband, father, and friend. And the best way to do that is constantly elevate, take feedback, be humble, continue to learn and grow. And that's really where the magic happens. Small incremental changes every day.
Yeah, I agree. And for all of you entrepreneurs that are watching this, if you can surround yourself with people like that, right? If you can choose your vendors with, start picking out, and these aren't vendors that you go through like, exes in high school. It's like, really go through and try and get some alignment in that. If you can have multiple companies working together on the same mission, with the same operating system, with the same meeting format, with the same structure, with the same goals to help each other accomplish their goals more in a partnership, that is amazing. That's when you see true progress. So, surround yourself with people that are have a similar mindset, and then hire the coaches to challenge you on the areas that you can't see. We all operate with blinders on. So we're all looking through a kaleidoscope. It's this big.
And I think the scariest part in any of that journey for any of us is just starting. I always tell teams, if you're listening, just start somewhere, even if it's small. I started October 5th with a personal trainer. I've lost 30 pounds in a couple of months, but I just needed to start. And it was scary. I didn't know what to expect. And he pushes me and pushes me and pushes me. And we have clear goals. It's no different than what I do with my clients. He's doing with me. We just need to know where we're going so that we can work on getting there. And we just break it into bite-sized pieces. But if you're stuck, just start.
Just start. Absolutely. One foot in front of the other.
That's it.
We have to end the podcast or my husband isn't going to leave the corner with us.
He's paralyzed at the front door. I love it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Dwight. Thanks to everybody who's watching the podcast. You guys make sure and reach out to Dwight, set up some time, have a conversation, take another look at your 2025 goals. See if they're broken down into 90-day rocks. Are they crystal clear? Does everybody know? If you need help in analyzing this, definitely reach out to Dwight. We missed our other podcast host today. I miss Crystal, miss Chuck in the truck. They're out doing other things today. But I'm very happy to be able to spend time with you. And thanks to our producers in the back, Miss Krista and Jazz. Thanks for organizing all of this. Dwight, we'll see you on the next show.
I love it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, you guys. Subscribe, comment. It helps us get the message out there. Share with your audience as well. Again, thank you for joining us on the Catalyst for the Trades.